Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back. It's the Broke Capitalist coming at you. And we're going to continue this conversation with my man Rodrigo over at the Coupe Media. I have a description, in the description, let me slow down. In the description, I'll put a link to this conversation in its entirety. If I look a little different to you, if I'm scaring you, testing a new camera. Personally, I don't know if I like how this looks. But anyway, let's get into this conversation. You're hitting it on the nail, man. And you may have heard that saying, like the greatest trick the devil ever did was make people think that he didn't exist. And so that's what the socialist has done. If you ask the average American, is America a socialist country? They'll be like, nah. But like you said, like at what point are we socialists? Like, most of your money is going to taxes, and you have no control over your own like labor. Now, I don't want to say that, but your labor, the reward for your labor is going to other people at a greater and greater percentage. And at what point do we cross that threshold of being socialist? I believe we're already there. I call it commie California, man. The way we got there is the same way Detroit got there, through people who look like us. So socialists have used people since socialism and communism started back in the 1800s, have used the plight of Black America to usher in their policies, right? And so now, to address your question, what do you do in a society where all these jobs are gone and they're being replaced not with other people or cheaper labor, but with automation and AI? You have two choices. You will be dependent on the government, which, like you said, AI, you didn't say it, but universal basic income, right? You'll be dependent on that, or you have to be a creator. And for people who come to your show, and hopefully people who come to my show will start to realize that, hey, I don't have too many choices here. So the best choice for me as an individual and my family is to figure out how to prepare myself for what is coming. I mean, this is being set up for two classes of people, literally the haves and the have-nots, right? It will be. Notice I didn't say the blacks and the whites. Those who have the capital to invest in the technology to, let's say, get you a Flippy, the Flippy, that I don't know if you've seen this, but they got robots already in fast food restaurants called Flippy the hamburger flipper, right? It costs like $32,000, 60,000 last time I looked, right? And so at $15 an hour, which is about 32, so your hourly wage times 2,080 is about $30,000, right? So you can get one Flippy robot at the cost of 2 employees. You don't have to provide health insurance for the robot. You don't have to worry about that robot coming in hungover, right? Costing you a lawsuit because they did something weird with the food. Now you're getting sued by somebody. So as a capitalist, man, that robot looks way more attractive than, little Junebug, who you don't know how to show up to work on time, but you still got to pay them $15 an hour because that's the federal minimum wage. That's what they're trying to put out there, right? So I think, for those on the show in the super chat, it's imperative for us to really see what's going on. First, you got to see it and comprehend it, and then you got to change it. And I think, unfortunately for us, there's some things that's going on that I want to interrupt myself and say, I'm alluding to here, AI and automation is going on, and it's been going on. In the books next to me on the screen, NIAC, I write about the effect of technology on a certain society And I'll be writing about that throughout the series called Ideas in Blood. I don't want to give it away here, but go check the book out. Technology doesn't stop. It never has, never will. The last time somebody tried to stop it, he was crazy. The last person who tried to stop it was insane. Ted, the Unabomber dude, right? He tried to stop technology. He, went off the rails, and it doesn't stop. So we have to prepare ourselves for it. We're not being prepared for this with politicians saying he's evil, she's evil, because they're black, because they're white. Nah, that ain't gonna get it, because we all gonna be broke. Say us, urban America. I'm just gonna put urban America. We are still, the vast majority of us still view the world through a racist lens. So it's really hard for us to see the policies behind these, the intent behind these policies, basically. So while we're like, for example, Orange Man bad, we don't even consider the policies that this guy is trying to push through that may help an individual regardless of skin color, right?
I agree.
He interrupted me there, but I wanted to finish that thought. The policies being pushed forth by Orange Man bad, and the policies being pushed forth by, let's say, Obama, black man, smooth, cool, relatable, I'll hold myself accountable to that. Like I said before on the channel, I never paid attention to Obama. I just paid attention that he was articulate, capable, smooth. I could relate to him. As far as his policies was concerned, I didn't give it a second thought. I only started thinking about policies when Trump came into office, because they was attacking his personality so much, right? So the point is, going forward, I hope lesson learned here. Pay more attention to policies and less attention to personality.
Sorry. I agree with you. I want to stop you there. And I do want to get into that. That's literally something I was talking about yesterday. I do think that a lot of black people view things, just the people in general, in America, it's part of American culture that doesn't exist in the rest of the world, where you see things through a racist lens, right? Other countries have racism, but we have a special type of racism, and we could talk about that later. But to your point, black people in general, it's almost it's holding as a whole, right? Obviously, you have successful people, right? But as a whole, it's holding black people back because you're putting barriers in front of yourself that shouldn't be there. And also, too, our type of racism is a not good enough type of racism, right? Where we look at, we feel like our ancestry is from slaves, right? So you're like proving yourself, right? So anyways, that's a totally different conversation. But great questions in the chat. I do want to address some of the stuff in the chat. A lot of stuff that you were saying, Brittany was saying, and a lot of stuff she was saying, I agree with. But I do want to answer Red Pill's question, right? Because it goes into what you were saying, and I do want to address it. So he goes on and said, hello, guys. I'd like to know your opinion about the propaganda all over the media about socialism, like if it's bad, is it really bad, right? So let me give you my opinion, right? When it comes to socialism. Is it bad? Well, it depends. Is that what you really want, right? So if we all decide that's what we really want, then it's good. And we get it, then it's good, right? But also, on top of that, what are you getting? How is it going to be structured, right? Are you just going to take the type of socialism that they give you, or are you going to have demands? Or are we going to have demands? Are we going to say, no, we demand this. For example, we demand universal basic income. Okay, we know you're trying to give us UBI, but instead of giving us $1,000 a month, you're gonna have to give us $2,500 a month, right? You're talking about, you want us to own nothing. You want us to just be renters and all this type of shit. Okay, you got to give us this type of amount, right? We got to make sure the rent doesn't go up, right? You have like rent. What type of socialism is it? Are we making the demands, right? So if it's something that we all want, right? And if it's something that we could all decide that fits our needs, right? Then yeah, it's a good thing. But at the end of the day, with socialism comes control, right? So for anybody who wants to be free, right, who doesn't want anyone to tell them anything, right, what America was built on, right, then socialism is bad. It's the worst thing that can happen because it's taking away the one thing that your ancestors came here for, which was freedom, right? So it depends what you want, right, to determine if it's good or bad or not. Now, if you want freedom, right, and we have socialism coming aboard, you have to question leaving the country, right? Because it's going against everything that you believe in. Everything that you're trying to do in your life is going to become harder, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's it. Now the propaganda in the media, I can't really talk about that because I don't watch the media. I watch the Coupe Media. That's what I watch, right? So I can't tell you the propaganda. All I know is the reactions I see on people on Facebook and Instagram. Tell you the truth, that's the closest I get to the media, because I know as soon as I turn it on, I have someone trying to convince me about something, right? They're not telling me something with an unbiased view. They're trying to convince you about something. So I try not to listen to it at all, right? So
can I address that question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is socialism bad?
Yeah, go ahead.
And I agree with you 100%. It depends on what you want. And I'll put it the way it was put right before the Civil War. And the argument was, over slavery, obviously, one of the main arguments. And one of the proponents of slavery, what he called socialism, he called it the science. He called socialism the science of slavery, right? So what does he mean by that? Well, you got to think, the narrative we've had since the Civil War has been basically that Black folks were slaves and benevolent white folks free. That's the general overarching narrative about slavery. And it dawned on me one day after reading this guy's book. His name was BitChute. He wrote a book in 1852 or something like that. About the book he wrote is called Sociology for the South, or the Failure of Free Society. Basically, the pros of slavery. And I'm like mind blown. Like, what? You can literally write more than a sentence about the pros of slavery, right? And so I'm reading through this, and basically what he was saying was this. The institution of slavery, which has gone back since the written word, right? So there's nothing unique about that as far as America is concerned. It's just, what's unique is how it ended. But the institution in general, and we could take it outside of the context of America. We could say the slaves that used to be in like China, right? If you were a slave, someone had to take care of you from the cradle to the grave, whether you were productive or not. So if you were a baby, someone had to supply you with your food, your clothes, your shelter, who was not necessarily your parent. If you were 60 years old and you couldn't work anymore, you were still taken care of from time you woke up. You had food, clothes, and shelter. You don't work anymore, but someone's still taking care of you and your kids. That's ultimate security. That is the ultimate form of socialism, right? Now, what's the opposite, the antithesis of that is literally freedom. And so capitalism is the, if you want to say, political or social political ideology that pushes freedom. There is a bad part of capitalism, or a portion to it, or aspect of it. You're free to die in the streets. So give me liberty or give me death literally means that. Like, there's nobody there to take care of you. You make the wrong move, you're gonna suffer, but you're free to make that wrong move or right move. And American heritage, what is unique about America? What makes us unique amongst all nations in the world? Well, we were founded on the ideology of individual freedom. I'm a means within myself. I can take the risk, and if it pays off, I can be, everybody's not gonna be Rockefeller, but I can create something that will create opportunities for others so that they could create something. And if I fail, hopefully I'll save money for that rainy day, which could lead to another subject of why our purchasing power is going through the roof. Down the drain, and it's really hard to save for that. So making capitalism really difficult to work. But basically socialism is bad. And for people who look like us, we're the last major group of people who were in that institution that was backed by law. We should not want anything to do with socialism. We should be the last people talking about socialism.
And that's
Now, I'm going to stop the conversation there for today, but I just want to be clear on something. The institution I was talking about was backed by law. I was talking about the institution of slavery. I would really encourage you guys to the books that I present on the channel. Check them out, because you're not going to get this information from mainstream media. And, you know, George Fitzhugh, in my opinion, I always judge people not by today's standards, but the standards the time they lived in. Just his presentation of the security that slavery brings. I never heard the argument before. And that's the point. Whether the argument is good or bad, it's just the fact that there's like this monopoly on information, and it never got to my ears. Another person that I'm reading now is Stephen Pearl Andrews. He was a prominent abolitionist during the time, and he wrote a book called There's a book called The Science of Sociology. Now, what I didn't know about abolitionists was, the only thing I heard about them was, you know, John Brown, you know, went to Harper's Ferry, and a lot of them were considered radical, and they wanted to free the slaves and blah, 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 right? But a lot of prominent abolitionists were anti-capitalist. Never heard that argument. A lot of the what was radical about a lot of the abolitionists was their anti-government stance, like an anti-capitalist stance. They definitely wanted to free the slaves, but it was a means to an end. But I'm gonna leave it there. If you're at this channel and you're subscribing, please support the channel by liking the content, sharing the content, and we need to get just more information out into the hands of people, right? More information like this that our education system won't allow children to read. I mean, can't even read Huckleberry Finn anymore. So I'm trying to create content that doesn't necessarily lean left or right, just the truth. This is what happened, you know, just the truth, backed up by citations, not opinions. Anyway, with that, I'm gonna let you guys go. If you want to see this conversation in its entirety, there will be a link in the description. The books you see on the left or right side of the screen is on Amazon. Go check them out. Marshall, I'm working on that right now. It should be out hopefully within the next month or two. All right, peace. I'm out, y'all. Have a good day.